My darling daughter, I feel deeply compelled to write to you before it's too late, before I forget, amongst the hustle and bustle called life, to teach you a very important lesson, one that has taken me years to realize. A physician once told my parents I would only be on this earth for 24 hours, or I would forever be a vegetable. Either someone was a tad off on their predictions, or this vegetable was able to attend law school, get married, and legally adopt a child. Many people also told me that I didn't have to go to college, that I was aspiring to be too much, that my disability would make it all too difficult to succeed, that I was barren, that I was not skinny or pretty enough, that I was not strong enough, that I was disfigured, that I was sick, that I was weak, that I was nothing, that I could never be your mama because we don't share a single shred of DNA. I stand before you having become most of what the naysayers said I couldn't be, having accomplished far more than anyone expected, having loathed me, loved me, and found me. I became the woman I chose to be, and I implore you to do the same. On a side note, if you ever see me stand, run. The world might just be coming to a very abrupt end. My darling daughter, you are not adopted. That is an event that happened in your life. Your adoption is the culmination of a 5-year journey, 9 birth mothers, 3 agencies, 3,500 miles traveled, 2 home studies, 2 losses, 2 sets of fingerprints, and a stack of papers that would make the Eiffel Tower look like the Barbie dream house. We struggled more than most because 34 states and many countries still regard disability as grounds for termination of parental rights and removal of physical custody by the state. So it was of the essence to find a place where would look beyond my different abilities and allow me to bring you home. Yet, once you were laid in our arms at 15 hours old, the actual legal paper, the adoption, did not matter much, as it still doesn't. Your story is so much greater than that. My darling daughter, you are not Black or Hispanic. That is a shell, a color, a label on a piece of paper, a social construction based on a distorted, self-serving view of the world that still affects the perceptions of many. I will always remember being handed a piece of paper in our adoption packet, which we were told was for us to let the adoption agency know our ethnic, racial, and skin color preference. Wait, am I adopting or ordering out of a catalog? You see, in the grander scheme of things, ethnicity, color, race do not matter much. Do not define people. People define themselves and will try to define you in the process. Don't ever let them. My darling daughter, you are not pretty. That would depend on somebody else's perception. In 2014, I was told I have a genetic mutation that would make me a shoo-in for a breast cancer reoccurrence. So, having been through the surgeries, the radiation, and the surgically induced menopause 12 years before, I chose to have a double mastectomy and reconstruction. There's a false sense of fixing something broken tied to that word. But the truth is, one is never really broken, no matter what happens or how many of society's standards you don't fit into. For instance, you will never look like the chicks in the magazine without Photoshop, and that's perfectly okay. So, love you, even the harder parts to love, because there is no greater gift than your uniqueness, and true beauty is way more than skin deep. You are not a poster child. Being a poster child is exhausting. I have been a poster child since the day I was born. A poster child for people with disabilities, a poster child for women with cancer, for people who overcome adversity. People say that they could not do what I do. That, my dear, is the lie that keeps them static. I'm here to tell you that if you have to do it, you will. It's called living, and you don't need a soapbox for that. My darling daughter, you are not the job you have. That is solely and strictly what you choose to do. You see, in 2009, way before you came along, I was an attorney, a government official, a chief of whatever. I was so consumed with accolades and accomplishments, and by proving to society that I could do what seemed impossible, that I became my job, my title. Then I lost my job, my title. I was full of doubt and depression, self-loathing and insecurity. It took me years to mull through it, but I can now say that what I choose to do behind a desk does not define me. You are not low, middle, or high income. That depends on what you have, not on who you are. You see, Daddy and I are still who we are, even though we lost every single possession we had at one point. You are in life-threatening danger, underinsured, and gravely sick. So we lost everything, sold everything, and relocated 1,100 miles from home with a stroller, a portable crib, an air mattress, and a ton of hope. We live with less now than we have ever lived with, but we are the most at peace. We vow never to forget the time where a McDonald's meal was a splurge or even an impossibility. Not because having less makes us any less, but because what truly matters is your self-worth, not your net worth. My darling daughter, you are not disabled. That would discount all of your abilities and superhero powers. I remember being an aspiring college honor student when one of my professors in Puerto Rico approached me about attending an internship in the continental US. I applied, though my family was skeptical of my ability. As the acceptance letters started pouring in, I started sending out lists of my needs to see which institution could best accommodate me. Then came the I'm sorries, and discouragement started overcoming me, up until I got a yes. Needless to say, that when the plane tickets arrived, all hell broke loose. I mean, the netherworld had a party. My family scolded, screamed, cried, put their foot down, and even flat out said I could not search for my independence because I could not take care of myself, because I was disabled. Yet, I packed my 3 bags, my 2 wheelchairs, and left for 3 months. I would do it again in a heartbeat, because it taught us all I really can do anything I set out to. It not only taught my family that I was strong enough to take care of myself, but that I could take care of them when needed. I can now truly say that abilities and disabilities are relative, and obstacles are optional. My darling daughter, after surviving, thriving, and riding this roller coaster called life, from a very medically complicated and physically challenging perspective, I can only ask you to always remember, you are not the sum of parts of your identity or the stereotypes that society imposes on you. You have a choice to hear the heart beat inside your chest and know it beats with a purpose. Never, ever surrender that choice. And once you find that purpose, that spark that is you, run. Run with it like a bat out of hell and fulfill your mission. Forget what anyone else tells you, including me. Don't be brave enough to never let anything undone. Don't wait till you're too close to the bucket to make a list worth crossing off. And never, ever forget to live like you are dying, for it will one day be true.